All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the last set of notes for this chapter, chapter 4, homeostasis and transport. So just a quick recap. Everything that we're talking about up until now has been about movement in and out of the cell. Either the cells have too many things inside and they naturally want to spread, or they don't have enough things inside, so those things naturally come into the cell. We call that passive transport, and all the various things involved in that. Or your body doesn't want that to happen. You have a lot of things inside the cell and they're trying to just spread because that's what nature does. And your body's like, no, you must stay inside the cell, and you work hard to push it back in. That's active transport. You are actively using your energy to push it all back in. Or the other way around, right? It's trying to get in your cell and your body's like, no, stay out of the cell. Salt, too much salt. I don't want it. Right? That's what is going on with active and passive transport. But today we are going to talk about homeostasis. Homeostasis. Balance. All the balance. Feel the force. Be one with the universe. No, that's not what I mean by balance. I mean balance as in keeping your body the way you want it to be. All right? Like everything we just talked about is part of that. You know, your cells want a certain amount of chemicals, so it will let a certain amount in or kick a certain amount out. Right? That's what we're talking about. But there's other things. It's not just your cells. You know, there's larger pictures of your whole body. So we're going to talk about like temperature. Your body wants to be a certain temperature. If you get too hot, your body will kick that heat out. If you get too cold, your body will generate more heat in order to keep at that level you want to be. Same thing with water. Your body wants a certain amount of water. It wants a certain amount of salt. It wants a certain amount of carbohydrates. It wants a certain amount of everything. And this is all about being where you want to be. All right, that's homeostasis. Homeo means same, and stasis means to stay. So homeostasis together, staying the same. Got it? Got it? Cool. Let's jump into these notes. So homeostasis and transport, the last set of notes. There's going to be quite a lot in this, so we're going to try to power through. All right, so bear with me on it. First things first, a quick refresher from chapter 1. We talked about the cell. And since everything is coming in and out of your cells, let's talk about the things that are important here. First off, the endoplasmic reticulum. This purpleness right here, the rough ER. And then the Golgi apparatus, which is this orange thing. I think I have arrows here. Yes, I do. There's your endoplasmic reticulum, and there's your Golgi apparatus. And these are the things that are whose job it is to kick things out of the cell if you don't want it. So endoplasmic reticulum, there's two kinds. We got the smooth ER, smooth endoplasmic reticulum, and the rough endoplasmic reticulum. The smooth endoplasmic reticulum's job, I said before in chapter 1 that its job was to handle enzymes, but also it makes lipids. You don't remember what a lipid is? Shame on you. We just talked all about that in the previous notes, right? Well, not the last one, ones before that. We talked about the lipids. Those are your fatty things, but it's also what your cell membrane is made out of. So these things don't like water, and they're going to keep the water out or the water in because water can't pass through them. It's going to move those lipids where they need to be, into the membrane. But the rough ER, the synthesis and transport of proteins. That's right. Your cells are making proteins. So those proteins now need to leave the cell and then go into wherever part of the body it needs to go to, right? Proteins are what make up your body, so you need to go send them to those body parts. It is going to package these new proteins into these bubbles that we talked about last time called vesicles. And then sends it over to the Golgi apparatus. If these guys are making proteins, the Golgi apparatus job is to send those proteins. It's going to process and package these materials, these proteins, for transport. As you're seeing in this picture here, all these little bubbles, all right, coming and going. This guy is like the postal service of your cell. So proteins are going in and then being sent back out to where they need to go in the body. Transports materials in and out of the cell. All right, now that we know what parts of your cells are handling all of that transport, let's talk about the things that are being transported, like Other than proteins, we got temperature and water, and we'll go through it. So mechanisms of homeostasis, maintaining equilibrium. Before we move on, there's a key word here that you need to understand here. This is dynamic equilibrium. Dynamic is a weird word. That's a word that I didn't even learn in science. I learned this one in English class. This means interesting, active, things are happening. And then equilibrium means balance. Staying where you want to be. That sounds weird, right? These two words don't belong together. This thing is actively happening. And this is, I'm staying the same. So how can these two words be together? Because you are actively staying the same. Your body has to work really hard to not change. Because you're in the world, and the world is trying to change around you. It's getting hot outside, or it's getting cold outside, and you're stuck in the middle of it. So things keep fluctuating, but overall, your body will remain in equilibrium. For example, I said body temperature, getting hot and cold outside. Body temperature rises and falls throughout the day. So you are getting hot or you are getting cold. But overall, you're still okay. You're not too hot or not too cold. Overall, you're balanced. That's what that means. Dynamic equilibrium. Doesn't get too high or too low. So here's another example other than temperature. It's about your heartbeat. It speeds up when you're active, or it slows down when you're resting, right? Because things are changing around you. If you get really active, then you're using oxygen. You're running out of oxygen, and your body has to compensate. Take a look at this chart here. At nighttime, you're awake, you're sitting around, you're watching TV, your heartbeat is normal. And then you go to sleep. You don't need a lot of oxygen when you're sleeping. You need some, obviously, you're alive, but you need less, which means your heart is pumping slower. And then you wake up in the morning and you start watching TV, eating your breakfast, and you go back to normal. But then, oh no, you're late for school. You've missed the bus. You don't want to be late. You got to run, and you're booking it. And now you are using your oxygen. Because remember, cellular respiration, last chapter, you use that to make energy. So you need oxygen for energy. You're running, you're using your oxygen. Now your heart is beating faster to get you more oxygen. Your heart rate increases. And then you get to school and you take a nap because, let's be honest, you woke up in the morning, went for a jog. You're falling asleep in my class now. So now you're asleep in my class and your heart is slow again. That was a long story. The point of it is you were changing, but see this dotted line? As long as you didn't pass that line, your heart did not explode in your chest. Right? You did not have a heart attack. And then down here, if you get too low, your heart can just stop from being too slow, being too low energy. As long as you do not cross these dotted lines, you are in equilibrium. You are balanced. You are good. All right? All right. So that's dynamic equilibrium. Changing, but you are still in equilibrium. You're still balanced. Another type is thermoregulation. That was actually my first example. The temperature fluctuates a lot outside. As long as you're within dynamic equilibrium, you're balanced. As long as you're not too hot, not too cold. So thermoregulation is trying to stay in dynamic equilibrium. I'm going to backtrack for a second. You want to stay in between these dotted lines, and your body will actively do things to stay there. If you get too hot, you will sweat, and sweating will release heat from your body. So you stop getting hotter. Don't get me wrong, you're not going to cool down, right? If you're sweating up a storm, it's because you're feeling really hot, but you're not going to overheat. And if you're cold, your mitochondria will make more body heat. You shiver. When you're shivering, your mitochondria is making more body heat for you. And you're not feeling warm, but you're also not freezing to death. Now we got two kinds of animals that will do this stuff, right? Endotherms and ectotherms. You, ladies and gentlemen, are endotherms. Remember we talked about last set of notes, we said endo and ecto? Endo means to be inside the body. Ecto means outside the body. So endotherms, therm means heat, by the way. That's why it's thermoregulation. Therms have to do with heat. So heat that's inside your body. Warm-blooded. Endotherms are warm-blooded animals. You make your own body heat. Ectotherms means outside the body, heat from an outside source, like this snake. This is a bobcat, endotherm, and this snake is a reptile, an ectotherm, cold-blooded, you would say. They need to soak up heat from an outside source. You can usually find a snake just sitting out in the sun on a hot rock. That rock has been heating up all day in the sun. Here's a bigger picture, by the way, because I want to take a look at this. This is going to measure temperature. This are two different temperatures we're looking at. Down here, ambient temperature means room temperature. How warm is the room? And it's in Celsius, 10 degrees Celsius, 20 degrees, 30 degrees, 40 degrees Celsius. And this is the body temperature of the animal, 10, 20, 30, 40. Check this out. The snake, if that snake is in a 10 degrees Celsius room, its body temperature will be 10 degrees. 20 degrees, 20 degrees. If it's in a 30 degree temperature room, its body will be about 30 degrees. Right? You can see that? But the bobcat, on the other hand, stays mostly the same. Maybe if it gets really cold, like this is about 5 degrees Celsius outside. Like this cat is in a really cold environment. So his body temperature dropped a little bit at like 37 degrees. But overall sticks closer to 40 degrees no matter what the room temperature is. Because it does stuff to either warm up or cool down as needed and stay at that temperature. And that's what you do. Now we got water regulation. That's right, guys. You can have too much or too little water in your body. Too much water can actually kill you. That's a weird thing, right? I've actually heard a story about that. Some lady drank way too much water in a contest and won a Nintendo Wii for her kids, and she died that day from drinking too much. Flooded out all her cells. Weird. So if you lose too much water from, say, sweating or just not drinking enough, then your body will try to store water. So when you go to the bathroom, you will actually release less water in your urine. And by the way, guys, these are actual pictures of urine. This is urine of somebody who has not been drinking enough water, or they've been sweating way too much and they're running out of water. So their body will hold back. When you go to the bathroom, it won't put the water into your pee. So what you got here is less water and more urea. That's the yellow, bad smelling stuff in your pee, right? So the browner it looks, the less water that's in there. If you have brown looking or amber looking pee, you need to go get some water right now. You're dehydrated. If you take too much water in, you're drinking too much and you're not really using it, you're not sweating, it's a nice day out, then your body will try to get rid of that water, right? You will release more water in your urine. So more water, obviously waters it down, so it's less dark, it's lighter. In fact, they say healthy pee is clear. You should not see really any color in your pee. Oxygen regulation, that's right. Too much oxygen is bad, and not enough oxygen is obviously bad. You want the perfect amount. So when you exercise, remember last chapter, oxygen for energy, right? Use oxygen to break open the glucose to get energy. So the more you exercise, the more oxygen your mitochondria is using. And your breathing rate will increase. It's just same chart. I use this chart for the heart. Remember, and the heart was moving oxygen? So the faster your heart beats, the faster you're using up your oxygen. Chemical regulation, pH and buffers. Guys, you can have too much acid in your system. You can have not enough acid in your system. Some parts of your body want acid, like your stomach. So, but you can also have too much. So your body makes chemicals to regulate that. And you know this word. We talked about this word in chapter 2 in the biochemistry chapter. We talked about buffers. Buffers, ladies and gentlemen, are a weak acid used to calm down a strong base, or a weak base used to calm down a strong acid. If your stomach acid is getting way too strong and you're getting ulcers now, it's when bacteria eats a hole into your protective layer and then the acid eats your stomach, right? So your acid is too strong. Then you want to get some kind of buffer, a base that will counteract the acid and weaken it. Hormones, ladies and gentlemen, also known as neurotransmitters, are chemicals that tell your body what to do, like feel happy. That's right, you have a chemical that makes you feel happy. It's called dopamine. Anytime you've ever been happy, that's dopamine in your system. Too much dopamine can make you kind of crazy. Not enough dopamine will make you depressed. Either one of these are bad. So you want to kind of balance them out. Hormones are known as start chemicals, like start feeling happy. Or some of them say start feeling hungry. Others start feeling angry. Chemicals that activate processes in the body. Start digesting food. Start cleaning your blood with your kidneys. If you lose some cells, there's a hormone that jumpstarts mitosis to replace those cells. If you have too much sugar in your blood, there's a hormone, you may know, insulin, that causes other organs in your body will absorb that sugar, get rid of it. So it says here, write this in your notes. All right, let me stop sharing here. All right, before you actually draw that, guys, let me explain what that thing is. Let me bring over here to the board. That is a special kind of chart used for measuring homeostasis. Now, I want to draw a different chart on the board, one that you've probably seen in math class, right? This graphing chart. I don't know if you guys got to math class in high school for this, but you may have seen it in high school or in middle school. We got the two axes. So this horizontal line is the x-axis, and this vertical line is the y-axis. Does that sound familiar to anyone? I don't know what year you would have learned this. I'm hoping you know this one. Right? But on your graphing calculator, your TI-80, whatever number you guys are on at this point, that's what we're looking at. But we don't need this whole thing. All right? We're talking about things happening over the course of time. This is forward in time. This is backwards in time. You can't go backwards in time, right? So we're going to erase half of this. All right, and then, whatever you're measuring, up and down, let's say body heat, all right? And this is hot, this is cold. That work for you guys? Cool. Hot, cold. And let's get rid of this line because it's in my way. I'm going to put two different lines. Remember, you can be too hot and you can be too cold. So here, this dotted line, ooh, that's on an angle. This dotted line is too hot. Do not cross that line. Let's get closer, you can see it better. There we go. And this dotted line is too cold. Do not cross that line. All right? Your body wants to be here. That's what we're going to be talking about. Too hot, too cold. We're going to call this feedbacks. If you start getting too hot, there's going to be a feedback. Your body's going to tell your body. So let's take a look at them really quick. We'll come back to this board. Feedbacks. There are two types of reactions, negative feedback reactions and positive feedback reactions. All right? Negative feedback and positive feedback. What does that mean? Well, one of these is going to tell your body that you're doing something good, and the other one is going to say you're doing something bad. Guess which one is which? That's right. Negative feedback says, hey, body, this is bad. I don't like it. All right? You start getting too hot and your body's like, oh, no, that's terrible. Positive feedback is when your body says, this is good. Oh, you warming up? I like this. Let's keep doing this. Right? So negative feedback reactions is going to try to bring your body back to the set point, back to normal. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I not mention set point? Here. Set point is what your body wants to be. We're talking temperature. What's your body want to be? What was that? 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. That's what your body wants to be. So that is our set point. Your body's going to work really hard to stay at that line. That is a horrible line. So this is perfect. This is too hot. This is too cold. You don't have to be perfect. You just can't go too high or too low. So as long as you're near this line, you're groovy. You're good. All right? Cool, cool, cool. So negative feedback wants to bring stuff back to the set point. Your body's going to go, oh, that's too hot. I don't like it. Fix it. And try to bring it back down to this set point. Or you get too cold and your body's like, oh, God, that's way too cold. No. Start shivering. Start making body heat. Start doing something. Put on a coat. I don't care. And try to bring the body temperature back up. So if something bad is happening, we fix it. And you won't always go back to the set point. It's not always perfect, but you're not going to cross the dotted line. That's what's important, right? You start getting too hot and you're getting more and more uncomfortable. And you're like, oh, oh, this sucks. Oh, I don't like this. I don't like this at all. You cross that line, that dotted line, you're in trouble. You're going to pass out. At this point, your body's sweating. Heat is pouring out in this sweat. So instead of crossing that line, you just kind of balance out and just kind of hang out up here for a bit. Yeah, that's still hot. You're very uncomfortable. You don't like it, but you didn't cross the line. That's kind of the point. Your body doesn't care if you're uncomfortable as long as you don't die. Don't cross that line, die. Stay down here. That's negative feedback. Positive. There, this is just an example I forgot I gave you. I'm not going to stick around with it. It's the one I just gave, but feel free to pause and write everything down. But your body temperature, if you get too cold because it's snowing out, you will start shivering and warm up. See? And same thing with the sweating. Example for the exercising, the heart rate and the oxygen talked about already, right? The faster you run, the more oxygen you need. Your body will force you to breathe faster against your will. And now, that's all negative feedback. About positive feedback. When is it a good thing? When is your body going to go, hey, you know what? This heat is a good thing. Let's cross that line into the danger zone. Yes, I like that. Why would you ever want to do that? Well, it turns out there is a time. This is not considered homeostatic, but every once in a while, you do have a reason to do this. But it's when things are not normal, right? Something not normal is happening. For example, a fever. If you are sick, you have bacteria in your body, and your body's going, hey, you know what? That body temperature thing, this warming up, it's slowing down that bacteria. I don't think they like it. So now your body's going, ooh, if I can crank up the heat a lot, then I'll cook that bacteria and really kill them. So your body on purpose raises your temperature way too high. And now look at that, you're in the danger zone. Right? That is when also it turns off your sweat glands. When you have a fever, you don't sweat. Weird fact, right? Well, it's holding the heat in, cooking the bacteria. Now you have a battle going on. I told you this is not healthy, right? You could die. Now you have actual battle. Who is going to win this heat fight? You or the bacteria? Hopefully you. Talk to your doctor if you ever get a fever. Sometimes the doctor will be like, no, dude, you're not winning. Take some medicine. Other times the doctor's like, nah, ride it out. You're good. When fever's over, you'll be healthy. And you'll know your fever is over when it turns the sweat glands back on. You start sweating and release the heat. Right? So after a fever, sweating is good. It means you won. So the time if you're watching this, it's probably a Friday. So I will see you on Monday. If you want to check out my Google Meet during office hours or anything like that, email me. Otherwise, I'll see you on Tuesday. Good luck, ladies and gentlemen, on whatever assignment I gave you after this. Bye.